What? Will you let me read, please? Stop for a second. Just stop for a second. Don't nudge me yet. Just give me a second, okay? Okay. Ready? You want to sit down and cuddle for a second? You can. Faith's story, health and healing from our commitments in life, a chance to regroup, reevaluate where we're headed. Faye has since although her life, Faye loved her work to as an environmental causes trader for many to be about her job in a military fashion and environmental organ on almost stations and level and felt it was beneficial. Nobody else knows. She hated them on shared fanaticism. And this lack of recognition by her peers added to her frustration. She felt she never accomplished enough in defense of the environment and that she had somehow failed to inspire her coworkers to rise to her pitch of fury. Over the last 12 years of her life, Faye had also suffered from crippling depression and chronic fatigue syndrome. The combination of these two disorders left her unable to stay employed for more than 2 years at a time, and at one point she went on disability for 9 months. Faye's uncompromising militaristic attitude and her frustration with her colleagues clearly had contributed to her depression and the physical maladies that derived from it. Faye had been on medication since her depression began. Her health disorders also led to the dissolution of her marriage and the difficulties with several family members, who she said withdrew from her because they felt she was looking for caretakers and they did not want to be responsible for supporting her. Now Faye wanted to get off her medication and find an alternative method for coping with her depression. She also wanted to heal from chronic fatigue, but believed that her depression was the underlying reason for her exhaustion. Years of therapy made her suspicious of conventional self examination, yet she was willing to cast a working chart. Her aim was to gain insights into the root cause of her and into how Faye needed to ask herself if she saw any benefit. Many people unconsciously build their lifestyle around their illness. Holds the same threat as the prospect of symbolically losing their home. And becoming, you take up residence in a pill bottle. As with Trevor and Carl, Faye's answers sometimes seem to contradict each other. The relationship of intention to those contradictions alerts you to an important energy. Faye's open frame of mind helped her why can't I say this word? Helped her enormously in constructing an overview of her illness that incorporated her work and her background, her strength and her fears. Her chart is shown in Figure 12. First house, ego and personality, servant. Faye interpreted the servant in her first house as symbolic of the fact that, because she was passionately involved with healing the environment, she had to wear the illness of the environment on her person. In interpreting her chart, she recognized her belief that, had she given the impression of being buoyant and attractive, no one would take her commitment to her work seriously. I think I was afraid to appear too glamorous, because glamour and nature do not go together. I had to look intense and committed to educating people on how toxic the world was becoming. Faye said that she would have to rethink her self-image as it related to her work. She chose the phrase, "nature is beautiful," as her reminder. Second house, life values, friend. The association that immediately comes to mind with my friend archetype and my health and my wait. The association that immediately comes to mind with my friend archetype and my health experience, said Faye, is that I have always believed that my spirit was my best friend, but my body served little role in enhancing my relationships. I am a good friend to people. I am a good listener. I am loyal and I am trustworthy, and I am always ready to support my friends. Having said that, Faye admitted that she had not treated her body and spirit in the same way in recent years. I feel that my body somehow has betrayed me. It has become a toxic environment, and I am angry with it. In her response to this realization, Faye chose "respect this friend" as her key phrase for the second house. Third house, self-expression and siblings, prostitute. Boy, I'm trying to read. The prostitute in Faye's house of self-expression represented anger. Faye's motivation to join the environmental movement was the anger she felt towards large corporations, industry, and society that turned a blind eye to the destruction of nature for the sake of profit. Righteous anger was healthy anger to me back then, and I felt immune to the consequences of this anger because it was expressed on behalf of a worthy cause. But obviously, no anger is healthy, nor is it inspiring. Faye had to come to this realization long before this chart, but upon seeing the prostitute on this house, she commented that she had never ceased to feel that way toward the industrial world. I think I have a lot to heal in this house, she said, and toward that goal, Faye chose release as her mantra. Fourth house, home, messenger. The illness has kept me at home, said Faye, and given this archetype, I need to find the message not just in the illness, but in my having to stay at home as well. In our discussion of this point, Faye said that she would have to give thought as to how she was spending her time at home. When you are in depression and have chronic fatigue, you just sit around all day, and in time, feeling sorry for yourself becomes natural. My husband was great at helping me in the beginning, but then I started to reconcile myself to the idea that this exhausted state was going to be permanent. That's when our relationship started to disintegrate. Faye said that she would make a positive effort to use her time and home as productively as possible. The biggest obstacle for me has been that staying home has made me feel useless. Unless I was out in the field, I wasn't able to do anything of value. The messenger on this house inspired Faye to think about finding alternative ways of communicating her work from where she was. Just the thought of going back to the work again, of finding that I can do something of value that continues my work from my home, makes me feel alive again. Faye took her key phrase out for this house from the song in the movie Snow White. Hey ho, it's home from work we go, saying that introducing humor into her attitude would not be a bad idea. Fifth house, creativity and good fortune. Sage. Faye was strongly drawn to the sage archetype. She had an obvious love for wisdom and great thinkers and felt spiritually nurtured by their insights. My association with the sage in this house is that I need their insights. That I need to make wiser choices about how I have been living and how sincerely I have been working to heal. I have to give some serious thought to how honest I am with myself. Faye said that because she felt that she was on the right side of the right cause, she was never wrong about her beliefs and judgments of others. She was never wrong in looking at the significance of this house. Faye said, I have fallen out of touch with loving life. I am living on what's left from yesterday. I need to have a love affair with life again. In support of her sage archetype, Faye chose love as her mantra. Sixth house, occupation and health. Saboteur. Faye took her time coming up with a response for this archetype in her sixth house. Finally, she said, I think I've been sabotaging my healing because I want people to acknowledge how much I've put into my work. It's not easy to produce your accomplishments for people. I can tell them I've given a talk here and there, but that doesn't mean much to anyone. This particular archetypal connection was like a depth charge, causing Faye to think about whether she was trying to make some of her friends and family, as well as her ex-husband, feel guilty for not having taken her more seriously. Therefore, she chose be honest, be wise as her guiding mantra. Seventh house, marriage and relationship. Innocent child. Faye focused on partnerships, and specifically that she was in partnership with her illness. This interpretation allowed her to change the terms of the partnership, indeed to break it off entirely. I am realizing that we become intimately involved with our illness. We refer to it as my illness, giving it a very personal status in our life. Dissolving this partnership represents my becoming impersonal and distant, withdrawing my emotions from this experience and the very thought that is empowering. Since Faye's goal was now to end her relationship with her illness, divorce became her seventh house mantra. Eighth house, other people's resources, environmentalist. The environmentalist archetype is a modern extension of the steward, who in ancient times was charged with protecting and serving an estate and conserving an estate. Native Americans and other indigenous people have expanded that concept to cover the entire natural environment in which they live. And today, environmentalists apply inspired Faye to consider opening herself to her friends and to the suggestion that help in a past few years that she had turned down. I lost my belief in anything and difference, she said, which is why I find it a difficult decision for me, because using drugs represented everything that I've worked against. But I had gotten to the point where I felt that I didn't have much choice. Faye said that in addition to reconnecting with her friend's loving advice, she would once again investigate the resources in the field of alternative health. She wanted to remain in the phrase that made up her eighth house mantra, wide open. Ninth house, spirituality, lover, romantic. Faye was drawn to the lover romantic archetype because being romantic balanced her environmentalists. I would have told someone in my situation that no matter what you have to go through, you need love to heal, because that's the way of the spirit, she said by way of interpreting this archetype in the house. I need to return to that truth. And as a way of connecting this archetype with her spiritual impulses, she chose God is love and her gratitude for this house. 10th house, highest potential, prostitute. Faye showed great imagination with her interpretation of this archetype. I think that I will compromise my highest potential if I don't make a conscious effort to heal my attitudes and climb out of my reservoir of self-pity. I will have sold my dreams and ambitions because the outcomes I had anticipated when I was younger did not happen as soon or dramatically as I wanted them to happen. Faye also needed to rethink the meaning of her highest potential, basing its definition only on what she did for a living. She realized was not good enough and not God enough. A job is my ego's highest potential. I don't know what my soul is. But I think I need to let go of my definition of highest potential and see what unfolds. For her guiding mantra, Faye chose emptiness because it reminded her to clear out any negative thoughts or feelings immediately. 11th house, relationship to the world, martyr. Well, Faye said as we discussed her martyr. Who would have thought I would see the world through the eyes of a martyr? She laughed and said it was almost too obvious. I always associated martyrs with causes. Where there was a worthy cause, there had to be a mighty martyr, or what else could possibly sustain the cause? Faye said that she chose the image because she saw the world as suffering, ill-being, then paused and added, I think somewhere in me is the belief that I have to suffer for the cause. This archetype goes along with my belief that you have to look like an earthy environmentalist in order to be taken seriously. You can never show up in a rally in heels and a makeup. I went in sandals and a t-shirt. Faye said that her next key phrase for healing this part of her psyche would be no need, as in no need to be a martyr, just to help the cause. 12th house, the unconscious, heroine. Faye chose the heroine as one of her archetypes because she always wanted to champion a cause. As a child, she used to fantasize a great deal about who she would like to be and what it would feel like to be so able and sure of herself. I think I need this type of recognition more than I care to admit, she said. I have to give some thought of how much my depression might be connected to my feeling that I have failed as a heroine. I have not succeeded in championing a cause, and I am not well known for my work. Even as I say this, I can feel the dark weight that fills my mind at night when I think about the fact that I've spent another day of my life doing nothing. This could be the failure that began my cycle with depression. Faye chose the phrase, guide me, for this house, because releasing her own plans and ambitions into the hands of the heaven felt like the most powerful act she could do in support of her healing and her life. As a result of this chart work, Faye decided to return to work, beginning with what she could do while she was home. She realized that she lost her passion not for just doing her work, but for everything. I have to work at believing that everything a person does to help a cause is a positive contribution, she concluded. I think that I'm going to make my spiritual path a study of the invisible self. This exercise has made me consider that perhaps I have been sabotaging my healing process out of anger at lack of recognition of my efforts, though I am not going to say that is the whole cause. But I do realize now that my attitude has not been an asset to my recovery. The choice is yours. Using these working charts to establish a system of guidance helps you explore your life through the symbolic realm. Interpreting archetypical information is like putting on a pair of glasses that brings everything into focus, allowing you to recognize your opportunities, your higher potential, and your mission. This clarity does not in itself provide courage. The choice to take action or not is always yours. You may or may not want to remind yourself of the archetypical significance of why a relationship ended or why you struggle with self-esteem. Still, you now have the option. You can cast a working chart. You can open yourself to inner guidance. The choice is yours. And in everything in life ultimately comes down to choice. So the next thing we read is Healing Challenges of the Archetypal Wheel. And we'll do that tomorrow. Let's see what archetype we left off on. There's so many. Okay, I read Pioneer. Now we're on Pirate. Pirates were traditionally the thieves of the open seas, pursuing rich treasures and burying them in caves, thus creating archetypal legends around buried treasures within the caves of our inner being. Although pirates were bandits, for the peasant population, they symbolized freedom and the ability to strike back at the rich and aristocratic class who made their wealth from labors of the poor. Modern pirates steal everything from intellectual property to information via the internet. It is tempting for us to steal another person's energy or creative wealth. The search for our own spiritual gold is a metaphor for coming of age in terms of spiritual awareness by finding our own value rather than pirating others' wealth. Films: Errol Flynn in Captain Blood, Walter Matthau, Pirates, Robert Stevens as Henry Morgan, The Pirates of Tortuga, Operetta, Pirates of Penzance by Gilbert and Sullivan, Fiction, The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas, Religion and Myth, Fomorians, the Irish Celtic mythology, a race of demonic prehistoric giants who pillaged Ireland from the sea.